Hey, this is Beverly. I will not be denied Bozeman. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. I appreciate it so much. Be sure and share this broadcast with your friends and your family. Why you should encourage yourself. Years ago, I think it was about 19 years ago, I was in my first marriage and I had a newborn and was living out of the country. And I was having a really hard time. It was just a whole lot of stuff going on. My life wasn't in danger or anything like that. My life just kind of came to a halt as far as being active every day and working and hanging around friends and talking on the phone. There was a big time difference between where I was and the folks back home. So it was just like one or two folks I was able to talk to on a regular basis. And so I ended up my husband was going to work 8-10 hours and I was there by myself, with my baby. And I really began to mentally and emotionally and spiritually begin this. I don't even know how to describe it. It was like I was becoming depressed, but I was also experiencing some other things that were spiritual, like full of fear and anxiety. It was just a big old mess. And I couldn't really talk to anybody. I knew I could talk to God, and I talk to God every day, but sometimes you just need to hear someone talk back to you. God speaks in his own way to different, to everybody, however he does. But sometimes it's the back and forth, the interacting or whatever. And I couldn't really talk to anybody. And so things just began to progressively get worse until one day I realized that I either had to leave where I was or help myself. I've always been pretty independent, always wanted to do things for myself, but this was like on a really different level. So I began to talk to myself. I used to tell myself the things that I wanted to hear about who I was, what I was going to do in the future, and who I could become as a parent, just basically encouraging myself because I wanted to hear somebody tell me that it was going to be okay. The people that I did talk to back home, I couldn't tell them everything that I was going through. And I couldn't tell my husband everything that I was going through. You'll find out later why you can't tell everybody everything. But I knew that God was always listening and that for whatever the reason, he was being silent. So I was like, I'm in this house all day. My child doesn't understand me. So I got to talk to myself. So I did just that. I talked to myself every day. But in the beginning, it was venting. It was ranting. And it was the woe is me. And then I just began to notice that every time I talked about how bad things were, things began to get a little worse. And I felt a little worse. And then God reminded me that you will have whatever it is that you say, So I began to think on a more positive level. And I was like, this is your only way out. I was telling myself, this is the only way you're going to survive living over here if you encourage yourself. I said everything negative that I could think of. I took an hour or two and screamed it at the top of my lungs and cussed about it and everything negative I could think of concerning me and the choices I had made in my life and what was going on and fear of the future. I got it all out and I was like, that's it. You don't get to say it no more. Once I was done, I said, that's it. You don't get to say it anymore, like ever in life. So I then began to say the positive things that I wish somebody had said to me. And it was just kind of like off the cuff. Things that made me feel better because at the time I just wanted the pain to stop, So I just encouraged myself. It wasn't anything formal. I did quote some scriptures, in between the encouragement because I believed in speaking the word of God, not just how I felt, not just encouraging words, but I would just tell myself different things based upon the thoughts that were going on about my health, about my weight, about parenting, about my marriage. I would just encourage myself, saying the things that I wish somebody would say to me. And little by little, I started becoming better. And it happened so gradually that it kind of took root, if that makes sense. It became an everyday part of my life. And I didn't feel right thinking negative thoughts anymore. I didn't feel right shrugging off the time I was supposed to take to encourage myself. You know, it's like if you take a bath every day and you wake up late and you just want to be lazy and lay around, I need to go take a bath. I don't even feel right. It's kind of, you know, whatever your routine is and you don't do it, it's kind of like something's missing, something's wrong. And I believe God gave me the revelation that the more I spoke encouraging words to myself, the deeper the roots got. And the deeper the roots got, the stronger the encouragement would be, to where it would be automatic or second nature. And it would become a necessity. Not like, I don't even feel right thinking like that. It's just like, I have got to. Like, there's some things in life that we feel like I just got to. No excuses. I just got to take care of this. I just got to do X, Y, and Z. And that's the way when the encouragement began, and it felt like, I need to do it. Something ain't right. The more I did that, the more it became of a necessity. And then I realized that, I'm going to share 3 things with you. I realized that I had to prepare for returning to the States, right? And I did not know exactly what I was going to face when I got back, because I had a lot of decisions to make. And I had been out of circulation, so to speak, for about 4 years. I was kind of like in this cocoon, this bubble, or as I like to say it comedically, if you are familiar with the movie I'm Gonna Get You Sucker, if not, you need to make sure you go find it somewhere. There's a scene where Antonio Fargas, I think he was Huggy Bear in the movie. Excuse me. He was put in prison. I think it was in the 70s. And maybe sometime in the 70s he was put into prison. You know, in prison they wear, the uniforms, whatever. Well, he finally got released, right? And when he got released, it was about the mid 80s. Child, I think he had been a pimp or something along those lines. When he came out, he had his hat on. The brim was about out to here. And he had on this jumpsuit. He had a cape. He had a cane. He had these platform heels on. And the platforms had fish in them. And he was pimping. You couldn't tell him nothing. He was pimping and looking at everybody like, yeah, it's me, Huggy Bear, right? And how the fish stay alive that long in them shoes? That's just me making an observation. But the more he walked, the more he could hear what the people were saying. And they were laughing at him. They weren't admiring nothing about him. They were laughing. And he was noticing how they were not dressed anything like they were when he was, when he went in. So he felt so bad about himself that you could tell by his demeanor. His smile, his smile and confidence just dropped, and he started walking faster and faster, because it was like the further he went, the more people he ran into and the more they picked at him. So he was just so out of touch with society that he was just like, had been stuck in a time capsule. He ended up breaking his shoe and losing some of the fish, but that's whatever. Y'all need to check that movie out. But that's how I felt. I had talked to some folks about what was going on in the States, and I was like, I'm not prepared to go back. And I knew that I had to not just encourage myself so that I could make it through the time of being over there. I knew that it was something that I had to do continuously. And I didn't know exactly why. I knew, I had talked to people and they had explained how things had changed and I need to be prepared for it. Things are going on because this was 2007, I think. And factories was closing and people were losing their homes, and the businesses that we once knew and loved were closing their doors or downscaling or whatever. And so people were preparing me for that, so I had to mentally be prepared so I wouldn't be in such a state of shock that I would go into depression again, because the world I left was not, I knew it wasn't going to be exactly the same, but it went down instead of going up with, new buildings. And anyway, but what I did not realize in my encouraging myself was that I was preparing myself to encourage myself as a part of my life for the upcoming storms. And I was like, get out of here. Later on, I was like, so me being isolated for 4 years was preparation for the upcoming storm. Had I not included encouraging myself as a part of my lifestyle, I wouldn't be here today. Because once I got back, life had so many twists and turns and turmoil, and I was so used to not having nobody to talk to. Anyway, that's a whole nother story. That, at one point I considered suicide because I was being tortured in my mind about a whole bunch of things, and I couldn't find a job, and I had a child to take care of, a single parent, and it was just, living with my mom. It was just a mess. But I am here to tell you that encouraging yourself is one of the best things that you can do to make it in life. Now, I know that everybody's life is not bad. Some people going through some really bad things, but they just find other things to be excited about and be grateful for. But regardless of where you are in life, there's nothing wrong with encouraging yourself. Here's 3 reasons why you should encourage yourself. 1, you are with you 24 hours a day. So why not encourage yourself? Who better to get advice from than somebody who knows the real you? There are different versions of you, just like there's different versions of me and everybody else. But the real you, pull back the covers and shine the light. You can't hide this from God and yourself. You. Since you are with you, why not be the one who is responsible for your happiness, your joy, your peace, your contentment, your success in life? Nobody can take credit for that if you rely on you for your encouragement, daily encouragement. All right. And then the second reason why you should encourage yourself is because those who you may depend on for encouragement, they might not be around. I found that out the hard way. There were people that I used to talk to, and they used to encourage me, right? And I just always felt so much better when I got off the phone with them or, left their presence or whatever, because we just had so much fun and we vented to each other and encouraged each other. But when we could no longer hang around each other, I was like, wow. What do I do for encouragement? Light bulb went off. Ding. You have been encouraging yourself for years through one of the darkest times in your life. This is nothing. I had to tell myself, this is nothing. When I found out that friends weren't really friends, family wasn't really family, I had to encourage myself. And I was like, girl, this is nothing. This is snack. This is a snack right here. And there are different ways to encourage yourself. And it really depends on your need. It depends on your exposures in life. And it depends on what you're trying to accomplish or overcome or whatever. But when we talk to people on a regular basis for the encouragement, we don't think that they may not be available. I'm not talking about nobody dying or whatever, even though, you know, that has to be factored in. But people can just stop talking to you for whatever the reason. Their life just gets so hectic, or they just are going through things themselves, and they're like, I'm tapped out. I can't even encourage myself. So how can I encourage you? And then you like, so what am I supposed to do? That's why it's important to encourage yourself, because those who typically do it may not be available. And the third reason why you should encourage yourself is because those who you depend on for encouragement may give you bogus information. Sad, but it's true. You may not believe this, but honey, when you rise up out of the ashes, or you shake off the dust and you try to get back into life, or you try to elevate yourself or do better or whatever, there might be some people or a person who don't want to see you doing better. The reasons don't matter. They don't want to see you do better. So if you're talking to them for encouragement and they tell you things that will slow down your progress or cause you to be derailed from your progress or get you in some type of situations that are negative, then what you gonna do? You got to get yourself out of that situation first. And then you kind of got to like start back over. So it's not good to always get advice from people or encouragement from people when you're trying to do better. Sometimes you just might be trying to survive. You know, you're in a situation or a season in your life where I just need to make it through today. You make it through today, then tomorrow comes, I just need to make it through today. So you don't need folks giving you bogus information so that you can stay in this funky mental state and they know that you're still struggling, so they can feel better about themselves because they're too sorry to bust a move and do something better. Or they're just plain old jealous. Can you believe, with all that you are going through, all that you got to do without, all of the smiles that you got to paint on so that people won't keep asking you what's wrong, there's somebody who got the absolute nerve to sit there and be jealous of you and talk to you in a way that is setting you up for failure. Well, if I were you, I would do X, Y, and Z. They know the outcome, but you can't see the outcome because you're in the middle of it and you're just trying to navigate your way through it. But they're on the outside looking in, and they see that if you keep spending and spending and spending and going to these events to feel better, going to these shows so that you can have some entertainment, go on these trips and buy all of these lavish things for your house, because girl, you know your house should be the perfect place. It should look like a showroom floor. It just should, you know. Because it's your house. You should have the finest things. But you don't even own where you live in. And you're trying to get out of debt so that you can buy a house for you and your kids. But they want you to stay renting because they renting. Or they don't want you to have a house like them. They want you to stay in somebody else's place. So they're going to encourage you to make your house look great and spend all of this money and send you all of these links to all of these sales and things. But they're not going to encourage you to keep what you have and save money so that you can get your own house. Some people will do you like that. There are some people who really wish you well and they're going to do right by you. But those people can be hanging the scale down here. The scale could be down here. And the people who will do you wrong can be up here. Not that many, but a whole bunch down here. But all it takes is one time from this one person over here. And that's the third reason why you should encourage yourself, because one of the people or the person that you are used to getting encouragement from, they may give you some bogus information. So I know I went over my time and kind of probably all over the place, but I just had so many thoughts that kept popping up. I tried to see, I even got little notes right here, trying to stick to my notes, but all of these thoughts keep coming. I just want y'all to get this information how I see it, so you can kind of process it a little better, because it's just so much. It's just so much I want to tell y'all. But anyway, I hope I made sense is what I'm saying. With all that I just gave you, I hope that I made sense. If not, comment below with questions or whatever, or just listen to this as much as you can. Anyways, that's about it. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. I appreciate it. Be sure to release your genius. Pull off the impossible every day. Remember, you will have whatever it is that you say. So be positive when you speak, Queen.